Hello, everybody. This is Melissa Roberts with Living Whole, and this is Tea Time with Melissa, Coaching Tuesday. Wah, 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 wah. All right, so here we are, and I'm going to bring to you something that I attempt to teach the people that are in my circle. It's actually a chapter in my recent book called Purposeful Living, and you can find that book on livingwholeacademy.com if you're interested. But this book is actually 12 focus areas that will help you to live a life on purpose and to walk in that thing that God is calling you to do. So today we are talking about loving yourself unconditionally. Why is that important to talk about loving yourself? Because we can be quite mean to ourselves. If you think about it, you think about the conversations that you're having with yourself and others. Sometimes the conversations that we have with ourselves are negative, and so we then project that onto others. And so we are teaching others how to love us based on how we love ourselves and how we project those things onto them. But I'll get into all of that. But we're going to talk about 5 areas or 5 different ways that I want you to focus on how best to love you. Just there's just 5 ways to how best to love yourself. And we're going to, of course, there are probably more, but I've come up with 5 that I think we have to be intentional at to ensure that as we are loving ourselves, we are loving ourselves well, right? And if we are loving ourselves well, then it's most likely we're going to love others well. Got it? Get it? Great. Let's go with number 1. You are enough. You are enough. I know society has worked very hard to tell you what you lack, what you don't have, the personality that you don't have, the charisma that you don't have, all of these things that you don't have, the look, the sound, all of these things. Society has worked very hard, and people, possibly people in your life, have worked very hard in telling you what you don't have or that you're not enough. But let me tell you something. You are enough. And you know how I know that you're enough? It's because you're an image of the Most High God. You are an image bearer of the Most High God. And He is more than enough. So if He is more than enough and He's formed you in His likeness and made you in His image, then you are enough, right? You are enough. What someone else thinks of you, I had a coach to tell me, my coach tell me this one time. What someone else thinks of you is none of your business. It's none of your business. It's not something that you should even concern your thoughts with. Don't even put any energies towards how someone else thinks of you. It is not that serious. It's not important, because what's important to you is how God sees you, right? So one of my favorite scriptures that I like to go to when I'm talking to women about their quality, their worth, their esteem, all of that, is Colossians 2:10, and it says, "And in Him you have been made complete." You've been made complete. So you have exactly what you need. You have everything inside of you to go forth and to do that thing that He's called you to do. So there's no reason why you have to depend on or be validated, or, oh, I got into a deep conversation with someone the other week because I literally just said to them, these people do not affirm you. They do not qualify you. Why are you allowing this to happen? And then you're all stressed out, wondering why you're not this and why you're not getting promoted and how many more degrees you have to have. You've done everything that they've required you to do, and they still say it's not enough. But let me tell you, sister, let me tell you, brother, you are enough. You are made in the image of God. If you want to check that out, it's in Genesis, the first chapter. Go to the 27th verse. We were formed with his hands. So when you think of forming, a formation, there's thought, there's pre-thought, there's forethought, there's creativity that's involved, there's imagination that's involved. So you are enough. Okay. Just tell yourself that on a regular basis. And if you don't believe it, how are others going to believe it? Because what you believe in your heart is what you're going to act out in your behavior. Yeah. What you believe in your mind is what is the behavior that you're going to act out. So you won't have to open up your mouth and tell anyone that you feel like you're not enough, because they're going to be able to see that that's how you feel. They're going to be able to see how you interact with others, how you move and flow and operate throughout your day. They're going to be able to see whether or not you believe that you are enough. Okay. Number 2, mind your tongue. This little thing right here is a powerful instrument, and we can either use it for good or we can use it for bad. We can either use it to build up or we can use it to tear down. How many of you remember when you were in school, or you were young, or even now, where somebody has just spoken a word to you and it just hit you to the core of your being, hurt your feelings, your deep feelings? That's because words are powerful. Do you know who the person is we listen to the most? Point to yourself. Yeah, ourselves. We listen to that internal voice that is not our spirit man. No, we listen to the voice that's in our head. And that is almost always, unless you have this under control, they are what psychologists and psychiatrists call automatic negative thoughts, ants, ANTS. These thoughts can enter your mind at any given point in life, any season, any time during the day. If you are doing something, or if you're in a situation where you're teaching, learning, whatever it is, these voices are automatic. So anyone that tells you that they don't have any negative thoughts to enter their mind, I don't know. Their mind must be a steel trap, because it is something that automatically comes in. Now, they may be very well at dispelling it immediately, but to say that it doesn't enter your mind, not so sure of that. But hey, that's not my place to pick that apart. Um, But yes, those automatic negative thoughts will enter your mind, and you've got to immediately know what it's going to take to dispel those thoughts. You're going to immediately need to know that what realistic thoughts, what thoughts are you having that are, when you look at it at its core, they're unrealistic. Okay. The same with the positive thoughts, the ones that you will immediately dispel the negative thoughts with. You want to make sure that you put positive thoughts in that place, but they have to be realistic thoughts, right? You don't want to just be saying something out of the clear blue sky that is not going to be beneficial for you, or is not within your realm of basically how God made you, your makeup, how you were created, how you were made, how you were formed, your thought process, your personality, all of that. I mean, because everything that he's done, how he's made us, is connected to our purpose. And so, you don't want to be saying something that is completely outside of who he has called you to be. So first of all, you've got to know who you are. So go to the manual. I talk about the manual. The manual is the word of God. And so in the word of God, that's how we know who we are and who he's called us to be, right? So, how do you dispel automatic negative thoughts? Those thoughts that pop up and automatically want to tell you of who you are not, or they automatically want to say you can't do that, or they automatically are limiting beliefs. Those are limiting beliefs. These things that you allow to pour into your mind. And if you feed on them, that gets me to the next step. They're going to live. So before I get there, I don't want to go there yet, but that's number 3. But how do you dispel automatic negative thoughts? So you can do several exercises, several different ways on how you can do this. But the one that I like the best and the simplest way is really just making a list, sitting down, and as you are learning more about who you are and what you're called to, make this a time of reflection for you. So sit down, write in your journal, write all of those thoughts that are negative, those things that you say to yourself that are not helpful in your moving forward, in your progression, those things that are completely a dislike or a disdain to who you are and who God created you to be. You are actually saying, when you feed into those negative thoughts that come in, when you allow them space, when you allow them energy, when you allow them room to grow, you are actually saying that God was not right at the way that he created you, or how he created you, or how he formed you. He was not right. And we have a perfect God. He does nothing wrong, nothing imperfect. Okay. And so you are basically telling yourself that who God made you in his image was not enough, and it was not it is not what you are called to, and you are not being who you are called to, right? So I hope that makes sense. You want to just be careful. So how do you dispel these negative thoughts? So you're going to write a list on the left side of the page, all of those things that you say to yourself. When you make a mistake, oh, that was dumb, you're dumb, or you're stupid, or you're not pretty, or you're not smart. All these things that you say to yourself in the heat of the moment, in the time of, you doing something, you say these things to yourself. Completely dispel those things. And on the right side of the page, you want to write something down with each one of those thoughts, a positive statement or a positive command, I would say, a positive command that dispels that negative thought. Okay. So this is the most simplest way that I've found on how to help people, is you write down all of those negative things that you that you tend to say to yourself. And then on the right side, you write down all of the positives that will dispel those completely. The reason why doing this is going to be important is because you're going to begin to sink into your mind. You'll begin to plant seeds in your mind of those positive thoughts that will overtake the negative ones. And so then it will become much easier to immediately dispel them as they enter your thoughts. Right? The Bible tells us to think on those things that are pure, those things that are just, those things that are righteous, those things that are honorable, those things that are praiseworthy. So that means that you're keeping in your mind that focus of the positive, all the things that God says that you are. You are righteous, you are holy, you are the chosen one, you are the beloved, the redeemed, you are enough. All of those things you want to write. And so you want to begin to plant those seeds in your mind, so that the third step in loving yourself unconditionally will be what you starve dies, and what you feed lives or grows. So you want to remember that. I had a pastor that would say that all the time. And so that has been ingrained in me over the past 20 years. What you starve dies, and what you feed grows. The late Dr. Randy Valamont would say that often, to as he was teaching leadership. So you are responsible for what you allow to pour into your mind, into your heart. And you are responsible for whether or not you're going to feed that thing, or if it's something negative that you need to get rid of, cut it loose right away, then you need to go ahead and start it. That means you don't want to give any attention, any energy, any focus to that thing. You don't want to keep repeating it. I in my discipling of a young lady. We were in a conversation yesterday, and she's nervous about a new transition that she's going into, that God is taking her into. Well, nervous in that, it's an unknown for her, it's something new, but she's very confident that this is where God is calling her to. So it's that just kind of pull tug, those conversations that we have to ourselves. And she kept saying, I'm so nervous, all of these things that she's putting energies towards the negativity part aspect of transition. And I said, stop, because what you're doing is you are feeding those seeds. You are feeding them, and they are growing in your conversations. And every time you say, I don't know if I can do this. I can't do this, or this is going to be hard, or I don't understand how this is going to happen, or you're just feeding all of those thoughts. And as you're feeding those thoughts, you will continue to operate in such a way where you're believing them, because they're growing. Every time you say it, you're growing, you're watering that seed, you're nurturing that seed. So I want to tell you, what you feed, what you starve dies, and what you feed grows, or it lives. So remember that. So feed your mind with those things that are pure, those things that are just, those things that are right, those things that are holy, those things that are honorable. Feed your mind with those things, so that as those automatic negative thoughts, and they call them automatic because they just come not intentionally, not at all. I mean, you could be going in an area, and then all of a sudden there's a negative thought that comes in. Dispel it immediately with those things that you want to feed, those positive attributes about who God says you are. That's what you want to grow. So you want to feed those things, and you want to starve the negative. Okay. Number 4, teach others how to love you. I was in a conversation I'm always in a conversation with somebody, right? But this was a couple of weeks ago, and we were talking about um people that work 9 to 5 jobs. This particular lady, she works a 9 to 5 job, and she's been working at this job for a long time. I mean, a long, like almost 20 years, and is disappointed basically on her not being promoted. Um, she's gotten the education that they've requested that she got, still no promotion. And so as I was listening to this conversation, I was like, why are you wanting them to approve you, to affirm you? Why? When you have exactly what you need, God has placed inside of you, and you cultivated that thing, you've nurtured that thing, you have become an expert in your area, but you are still looking for them to approve you. Woman of God, man of God, no. God gives you what you need in its rawest form, that purpose, that calling, that assignment in its rawest form. It is up to you to cultivate that thing, to nurture that thing, right? And then once you do that, you become an expert at what you do. And then no man qualifies you. God qualifies you. He qualifies and equips the called, right? So it is your job to teach people that about you. If they treat you any other way, it's because you have allowed it. You have allowed it. You've allowed the time to go by where you have not been promoted. You've allowed for them to disrespect your skill set. You've allowed them to disrespect the gift that you bring to the table. I mean, and I know that's hard and that's deep, and some of you might even not agree with me there, and that's fine. That's fine. You have your opinion, and I have mine. But one thing I do know is that as long as you give out of yourself and not expect anything in return in terms of you giving of your service, your time, your talents, and you're not getting anything in return, and you're continuing to give out, as long as you continue to give out, they will continue to call for you. They will continue to pull it out of you. They will continue to want from you. They will continue to get from you. So we teach others how to love us. So that's why number one is on loving yourself unconditionally, is to know that you matter. And then number two, you got to know how to watch your tongue, mind your tongue, because what you speak out of your tongue becomes power. There's power. The Bible says there's life and death in the power of a tongue. I mean, so we can create, we can imagine, we can speak words and call them into existence, things into existence with our tongue. I mean, we can speak things and call them to happen depending on our level of faith and belief in who we are and whose we are. I mean, Jesus even talked about that. I don't know if you know the story. One of these days, I'll do a Bible study on that. But I was reading in the Bible where Jesus was speaking to, he had come, they were traveling. He and the disciples were traveling. And the day before, I think is when he had preached on the mount. I think, don't hold me to that. But they were going and he was tired and hungry. And the Bible says that Jesus he comes up to a fig tree to get something to eat. And that fig tree has no fruit on it. And he curses that fig tree and it withers up instantly and dies. Why, the disciples say, why did that tree wither so quickly? And then Jesus began to talk about how you have the authority to call things. You can speak to that mountain and say, be thou removed, and that mountain will be removed. So there is power in your tongue. So you choose to use it wisely or use it not so wisely, right? And then we talked about what you starve dies and what you feed grows. So you thinking about those things in your tongue, what you starve dies, what you feed grows. So what you put in your mind, what you continue to cultivate, and what you continue to water, those seeds that you continue to water them, oh, they're gonna grow. Okay. And then teach others how to love you. So you teaching others how to love you, basically how you love yourself. So if someone is treating you in a way that is contrary to how you treat yourself or how you allow others to treat you, then you need to step away from that particular situation. You need to remove yourself from that particular situation. Because if you don't, you are telling them that it's okay to treat you a certain way. It's okay to pass you up because you're going to still be there in this role. It's okay to speak to you in a certain manner because you're not going to say anything against it. It's okay. It's like when my husband is a track coach, and I talk about him sometimes. They have athletes in college, and they get on the track, and when they get on the track, it's about business, right? But it's also about respecting your team member. So we're talking about respecting them and how you treat them, how you speak to them, how you serve them, all of those levels of respect. And so anytime we hear, if I'm there and if he's in the earshot of what's going on, if someone is being disrespectful to another, we cut it off. Because immediately you need to know that you're not going to treat this person like this. And I'm going to show you how it's appropriate to treat one another. And so When talking about how we teach others to treat us, we can teach others to treat us badly, because if we accept what they're giving out, then they are going to continue to do it. But we also teach others how to love us, how to respect us, how to honor us, because in some ways how we carry ourselves and how we honor, respect, and love others. So you teach others how to love you, remember that. And then number 5, daily gratitude is necessary. Having this time where you spend proactively telling your mind, what are those things that I am grateful for? So that as life happens, I am not going to be reactive with my thoughts. I'm going to be proactive. So I'm going to be reminding myself of who I am. I'm going to be reminding myself of who God is. I'm going to be reminding myself, because I've taken time to have that quiet time of just expressing my gratitude to God. God, I'm so grateful for what you've done. I'm so grateful to be able to feel the sun and the warmth on my skin. I'm so grateful that you've given me the activities of my limb, and that I can move and walk, and that my lungs are doing what they were created to do, and that my eyes are doing what they've created to do, and my ears are doing what they've been created to do. So God, I thank you. So expressing the gratitude. Oh, I'm grateful for my family, because most people just say I'm grateful for my family. I like to be very specific in my times of gratitude. So daily gratitude is important. If you're grateful for your job, what you get to do, God, I'm grateful for my job because I get to serve people in this capacity. They come to me with a need and I'm able to help them. Or I'm grateful for my family because no matter what, God, they are there for me to lift me up when I am torn down after just feeling like I'm being beat down. um I'm grateful for my husband because he has a word from you every time I need it, when I don't have the strength to seek you myself. I'm grateful for him. So having those daily times of gratitude, I like to do mine early in the day, so that as life throws curveballs at me, I can knock them out with that proactive thought process that I've started in the first parts of my day, and I'm proactive in my thinking on how I respond to things. So I'm not negative to myself, I'm not beating myself up, but I'm being proactive in the thoughts. So because I've spent time being grateful, teaching your mind what to focus on. Okay. This way you are proactive in your thought process and not reacting to what life brings you. I hope that these 5 ways on how to love yourself unconditionally, and I'll go back through them. You are enough. Mind your tongue. What you starve dies, and what you feed grows. Teach others how to love you, and daily gratitude is necessary. These are just 5 thoughts or ideals I want you to keep in the forefront of your mind as you are um, thinking about, reflecting on how to love yourself well and what that needs to look like. How to teach others how to love you, what that needs to look like. But loving yourself well, understanding who you are and who God made you to be, being able to do that first will then allow you to be able to love others in such a way that it is well for them and you. So I hope this has been helpful. This is Melissa Roberts with Tea Time with Melissa and Living Whole. Thank you so much. Go on and live a transformed and a beautiful and wonderful life. Peace. Go with God.